Okay, picture this. A party so wild, so huge, that literally an entire nation gets an invite. Now imagine that same party ending with a sudden, catastrophic faceplant into a brick wall. Well, that's pretty much what happened to the US economy back in 1929. So in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly how that party got so completely out of control. I mean, after the absolute nightmare of World War I, America was, well, it was ready to celebrate. And boy, did it celebrate. The 1920s, the Roaring '20s, it was a decade of just insane economic growth, incredible new tech, and this feeling of just boundless optimism. It really truly felt like the good times would never, ever end. So what was driving this feeling? This core idea that the party could just go on forever. Well, it was fueled by one thing more than pretty much anything else. You see, for the first time in history, the stock market wasn't just some exclusive club for the super rich. Nope, it became a national obsession. We're talking your barber, your milkman, your neighbor, everyone was getting in on the action. They were all convinced they had a one-way ticket to Easy Street. But that brings up a big question, right? How on earth was an ordinary person affording all these stocks? Well, the secret sauce of the whole 1920s boom was this thing called buying on margin. Let me break it down. Normally, right, if you want a $100 stock, you gotta pay the full $100, simple. But with margin, you only had to put down a tiny fraction of your own cash, let's say $10, and you could just borrow the other 90 from your broker. And hey, as long as that stock price kept going up, you look like an absolute genius. And that, my friends, is what created this massive, massive bubble. All of a sudden, you have people controlling huge amounts of stock with very, very little of their own money in the game. It was like pouring gasoline on the market fire, sending prices to these just dizzying, totally unrealistic heights. Everyone was getting rich on borrowed money, and as it turns out, on borrowed time. Now, this whole crazy system, it was propped up by a single, incredibly powerful, and let's be honest, an ultimately dangerous delusion. This belief that stocks could only go in one direction, up. And you can't really blame people for thinking that. I mean, just look at what was happening all around them. Henry Ford was churning out Model Ts, radios were connecting the entire nation like never before, factories were absolutely booming. It seriously felt like a brand new era of permanent prosperity had arrived. Yeah, this was the dominant mindset, for sure. People looked at all this amazing new technology and just thought, how could we possibly fail? They genuinely believed the economy was fundamentally different now, that the old rules of boom and bust just didn't apply anymore. The line, they were absolutely sure of it, could only go up. So rational decision-making, that went completely out the window. It was totally replaced by pure emotion, by this intense fear of missing out on the easiest money anyone had ever seen. People weren't really buying companies anymore. They were just buying tickets to a lottery. They were convinced everyone else was winning. But you know how it is. Every party has to end. And for an entire economy that was running on nothing but pure optimism and borrowed cash, the end wasn't going to be some quiet wind down. No, it was going to be an abrupt, violent collision with reality. So let's look at the actual numbers for a second. On September 3rd, 1929, the market hits its absolute all-time peak. Get this, it had nearly quadrupled in value in just 5 years. To everyone at the party, this was just more proof that the line would, in fact, always go up. Wow, they couldn't have been more wrong. And then, it happened. It started with a little tremor on a day they'd call Black Thursday. By Black Monday, it was a full-blown earthquake. The market plunged nearly 13%. And then came Black Tuesday, October 29th. That was the day the music died. For real, the floor just completely fell out from under the market. This was it. This was the moment. The entire economy, running at full speed, carrying everyone's retirement plans, just slammed headfirst into that solid brick wall. All that optimism, all the belief in a new era, all that easy money, gone. Just like that, vanished in an instant. The party was officially over. The hangover was just beginning. And oh man, was it gonna be a long one. Right, so the crash on Wall Street, it definitely didn't stay on Wall Street. It sent this massive shockwave that rippled out into every single corner of American life. It was like this catastrophic domino effect. Here's how it worked. First, all those investors who bought on margin, they got wiped out by margin calls. Basically, the brokers demanding they repay their loans now.
This forced them to sell everything at any price, which just pushed the market down even faster. Then, what happens? The banks who had loaned out all that money, they start to fail. And finally, public confidence in the entire economic system, it just evaporated. And we have to remember, this wasn't just about abstract numbers on a ticker tape. No way. This was the life savings of millions of ordinary people. We're talking about their hopes, their dreams for the future, their retirement plans, all of it just gone in a matter of days. So what was the final price tag for this national delusion? How do you even begin to quantify the scale of a faceplant this big?
Well, get this, by 1932, the total wealth that was just destroyed by the crash and the Great Depression that followed, it was the equivalent of about $200 billion in today's money. That is just a staggering sum. It represents a level of economic destruction that's, well, it's almost unimaginable. So when you boil it all down, what really caused this? It was basically a toxic cocktail of three things. First, this widespread belief in a permanent new era of prosperity, all fueled by new technology. Second, you had super easy credit with almost no regulations, which basically allowed for rampant gambling. And third, just a complete abandonment of caution inside this massive psychological bubble.
You know, if there is one single lesson to take away from the great crash of 1929, it's this simple, kind of brutal truth. The line doesn't always go up. Gravity always works. What goes up can, and often does, come down. And sometimes it comes down very, very hard. Which kind of leaves us with one last thought. I mean, we live in an age of our own technological marvels, right? We have our own new markets, our own waves of infectious optimism. The world is definitely different. But is human nature? That's the real question. Have we really learned the lesson that cost America $200 billion? Or is there another brick wall waiting for us just around the corner?